there is something that we are not seeing that is countering our every move.
Open your eyes, your majesty. What does that witch have you so blind you can't see the truth?
We're the same. Even I had two wolves, one to feed.
Hello and welcome to the penultimate episode of House of R for 2024. I'm Joanna Robinson. Ooh. Joining me today, I don't know, burning up inside with her desire to podcast with me.
That's right.
Because it's a nano disease. It's Mallory Rubin. Hello, Mallory.
Joe, we're the same. You and I, two wolves born to feed. No content for the cost.
Hi. We're here
Hello.
to talk to you about Dune Prophecy. We did not cover episode 5. We're coming to you now fresh off the heels of the finale, episode 6 of season 1. And so we're here to give you what we're calling the winners and losers of Dune Prophecy. This is a show that we have grappled with a bit, have some thoughts and feelings about it that we do want to share, but we're not doing our usual deep dive on this show. And I think everyone will thank us for that, honestly, at the end of the day. So this is going to be a zippy little pod, but you have another pod coming from us before the end of the year, and it is our best moments of 2024. And I am so excited. We're literally going to record that pod after we finish this pod. So we are like, this is the light at the end of what Mallory said earlier. The end of the Samwern Maw is the fact that we get to do our best moments 2024 pod together this morning. So we're coming to you from the recent past when we recorded this before the holiday break. So that's what's going on for us. We've got this, we've got our moments, and then we'll be back to cover Skeleton Crew episodes 5 and 6 in the new year.
Yes.
But we are taking episode 5 off because of the holiday. So that is the plan from House of R. Over in the Ringerverse. Wow, they got a lot going on. There's Game of the Year draft from Button Mash. Love that. So excited to know if there is a game I should play. Steve often gives me a recommendation for a game I should play over the holidays. And literally have I never actually done it, but someday I will. And maybe this year is that year. Maybe.
You going for Helldivers 2?
That doesn't sound like something I would enjoy, but Astrobot? All of Steve's recommendations are good and well-tailored towards me. But we'll see. But Game of the Year draft, that's Ben, Justin Charity, Steve, and Matt on Button Mash. And then the Midnight Boys are doing the Midnight Mulligans.
Hell yeah.
One of my favorite things they do every year. We will have another Ringerverse Recommends for you, sort of holiday edition. And then the Mint Edition crew is doing things we missed in 2024. I mean,
wonderful.
Incredible stuff. Mal, how can people, in a zippy fashion, how can folks make sure they get to watch us and listen to us?
That embarrassment of riches over the holiday season, gifts aplenty. Here's what you need to do. You need to follow the pods. Follow House of R, follow Ringerverse on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch full video episodes of House of R and Midnight Boys Pew Pew on Spotify and the Ringerverse YouTube channel. While you're at it, follow the Ringerverse on the social media platform of your choosing. We are on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and then, if I could get through this sentence without coughing and or sneezing, I'm doing great.
It's great.
Send us your emails. The inbox is open. Hobbits and dragons at gmail.com. Keep the emails coming. What did you enjoy this holiday season? Have you finally caught up on Craven? Is your life forever changed? What are you looking forward to next year? We'd love to hear from you. Joanna, back to you in the studio.
Thanks for that field report, Mallory Rubin. Listen, shout out to our listener, Brett, who did try to crawl inside of the Nosferatu sarcophagus at Lincoln Center, only to find it does not actually open. So keep trying to breach those sarcophagi, but at your own safety and peril and arrest record. Okay. Spoilers today. We're here to talk to you about all of Dune Prophecy, episodes 1 through 6. So if you've not watched season 1 of Dune Prophecy, maybe you might want to do that, or you might get spoiled. Also, Dune as a whole, as a universe, the Duneverse, on the table today.
Yep.
Well, that's it. That's all I got to say about that. Let's go to the opening snapshot. Well, that sure was a finale, and a long one too.
Meaty, lengthy, girthy.
Like I said, we're gonna do 6 winners and losers, 3 winners, 3 losers as we come out of covering this season of Dune Prophecy. But I just want to, we're going to do like a sort of a brief check-in on the characters just to make sure we all remember what happened in the finale. And then also some opening statements, some big picture sort of look at how we feel about the season. I will say this. I had a real tough hang with this season of television. There are some bright spots for sure.
Yeah.
But you and I love Dune as a property, and we're really hoping this would knock our socks off. And our socks, indeed, are still on here at the end of the season. And the finale, I found the finale, I could not maybe tell you why, though I will try to over the next, 45 minutes. Personally aggrieving. I was very aggravated by this finale personally. And we try not to sort of like kick something when it's down necessarily on this podcast, but we do also always want to be honest with you about how we feel about things.
Absolutely.
So that's why we're sort of trying to frame this as like winners and losers. So we will air our grievances, but also celebrate the things that we do feel like worked or some other larger winners in this narrative. I will say for me personally, the experience I had watching the 80 plus minutes of this finale, which again, Mallory had to tell me that there was a Neil episode of Skeleton Crew
bracing to hear that
waiting
out loud.
for me. Was akin, I had these sort of like physical PTSD flashbacks to covering the Westworld series finale, which has some crossover talent with this show, but a very similarly like baffling, needlessly complicated, yet also not profound in any kind of way. Bodies are piling up in a way that just doesn't seem to have any sort of emotional heft or weight or impact, that it's just sort of like for shock value, but it's not quite shocking. And then all feeling like it's setting up towards like really trying to pitch towards the next adventure, the next thing, the next chapter. Like it didn't feel like the end of the story in any way. And whether or not you feel like you're getting a second season, it would be nice to feel like some sort of resolution of an arc of a particular season is wrapped up. And like with Westworld was particularly grieving because there was no more Westworld after that, and that was it.
Right.
And so we'll talk about the future of Dune Prophecy, but I just find it, I don't know, I find it bad faith almost to give us a finale that really doesn't feel like it has given us, like something like The Penguin certainly like set itself up to potentially have more story to tell. But we felt like, okay, here's the arc of this story that we've been watching
fully
this season.
Complete story inside of season 1.
And where will we go next? We're interested, we're intrigued, but we have sort of concluded this leg of the journey. I did not get that feeling from this finale. Mallory, Rubin, what sort of big picture thoughts do you want to share? Here.
When you said bodies were piling up, you did mean literally, right? Because we had multiple sequences that involved dead people on top of each other. So, I do not have the final season of Westworld as a similar touch point and source of trauma. I left the Westworld experience midway through season 3.
Smart girl.
But I felt similarly overall, though, certainly about the finale and the season of TV, which I was not a huge fan of. And that's a bummer because I was really looking forward to Dune Prophecy. I was looking forward to more Dune storytelling. I was looking forward to a Dune television show, an HBO Sunday night prestige Dune show, continuing to explore the Duneverse in this moment of Dune jubilation and euphoria, because the first 2 Denis Villeneuve films have been so widely celebrated. This was obviously something we were really hyped for. It was selected in the hype draft by you. But again, the hype draft is not about If the hype draft has really become a time capsule.
I just really feel like you slid a Chris knife between my ribs and twisted.
That's more. I'm trying to remind us of a simpler time when all we had ahead of us was hope. The promise of a rich.
What's the most embarrassing
mind-opening load of spice?
What's the most embarrassing thing on your hype draft this year?
I had a few doozies as well.
Okay, great.
Boy,
that's okay.
I had, let's see, what were my picks? I took Rings of Power, which I feel great about. Gladiator, which, made a big stink about it, and then we wound up where we were. But I feel okay about that. I believe my third pick was Acolyte, so not ideal.
Mistakes were made.
And then I think I took X-Men 97, which I feel obviously wonderful about.
Absolutely.
And then Avatar. Mixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me see if I remember yours.
Wow.
The Dune film, I mean,
Killer.
Wonderful. Dune Prophecy, not great. Rohirrim, tough.
What
were your other two picks?
I can't
remember.
tell you. If I had all the time in the world, I couldn't possibly remember. That was so long ago. Oh, wait, here. Okay, I found the graphic. I've got, Kung Fu Panda. What on earth?
Oh, yeah. I loved the spirit behind that pick. I really do.
Okay.
I really did. I genuinely did.
Dune Part 2, great. Yeah. Crushed it. Kung Fu Panda 4, question mark.
I love that pick.
This is my worst time.
Did you pick Joker?
Yet. I picked Joker, Folia Jew.
Yeah.
War of the Rohirrim and Dune Prophecy.
You started strong.
I think I have the best thing on here.
Yeah.
And then the rest is absolute shambles.
Oh man, you know what? Plenty of championship rosters are built that way. A stars and scrubs approach. Who minds it? Not me.
I don't think any of us have a great lineup, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe. Oh no. Okay. Cool.
2025 hype draft. Tune in a few weeks. We can't wait. What a time capsule the hype draft always is. Anyway, was not a huge fan of the finale. Was not a huge fan of the season of television. I said when we talked about episode 4 that I had a worrying, sneaking suspicion that in missing the episode 3 pod, I had missed the opportunity to talk about the highlight of the season with you, which did prove to be true.
Correct.
But we will chat a little bit about what made that episode successful as we look at our winners and losers today. And yeah, I really agree with everything you said. The point you made last pod we did was really, really, really on my mind watching episodes 5 and 6 about when do we tip from, okay, of course, in a way, prequels are kind of always about understanding how we got to a thing we've already spent time with, know, understand, and probably love. But that this was really feeling like a series of
mini origin stories.
Here's how thing X came into the Dune universe. And that felt inescapable toward the end. And like it was really also not just taking up the oxygen, but at the expense of character development, allowing us to emotionally attach to people who we would then be invested in. Like we talked in the episode 4 pod about how in the big throne room sequence, it was really notable to us that we felt very little concern for the people who were in peril in those moments. And I think that continued then, throughout the next couple episodes. So that's worrying. 6 episodes is not 10, but 6+ hours to make us care about a world that we were already invested in. And
this episode really delivered on that plus, right? Putting the plus in 6+, an 80-minute finale. Okay, we're going to do a brief check-in on some of the main characters before we get into our winners and losers. Emperor Haviko, Sister Francesca, who imprinted on him as they do in Twilight.
In Twilight. I was really thinking about Twilight more than I anticipated watching the last 2 episodes of Dune.
Emperor Haviko, Renesmee, what's the difference really at the end of the day?
It's true. I have said to you before, though, in various planning meetings, strategy sessions, the imprint won't let you hurt me.
Okay, so this is our first pile of bodies. R.I.P. to Haviko and Francesca.
I'm sorry, but the actual literal piling of the dead here like made me laugh. It was so weird.
It was
and then
so bad.
Our would-be beloved Natalia, who we had such hopes for at the beginning of the season, faux shrieking. Obviously, it's a show.
Yeah.
The Emperor has been killed!
Platitudes. It was platitudes time.
Real platitudes.
So
energy. My goodness.
Empress Natalia thinks she's in charge now and that she has Desmond Hart on a leash. And I don't think that's the
like
case.
A sex thing? You think that's part of their new romantic life?
You better believe it. You better believe a leash play is involved.
Okay, you have my attention again heading into season 2.
Great. Love that for you. Valia, Princess Inez, and Kieran Atreides, they're on Arrakis, bitch.
They sure are.
Spice time, baby.
They sure are. Is this the place to ask you quickly? This was one of the things about the finale that drove me to the brink of mania and just actual despair. They escape thanks to a plan, a deliberate, intentional, explained to us plan to have Theo impersonate Nez, and then that just doesn't happen when Desmond and co come in?
I think the reason why is that the plan was just to take Inez and leave Kieran. And since Inez is like, I won't leave without Kieran, they're like, well, no matter what, we can't pretend there was no jailbreak. Like, the idea is to leave Theo.
But then why didn't Theo go with them?
Oh, because her job was to kill Desmond, and she made the shittiest attempt at it, and then just got captured.
Yeah, we gotta do either just leave and go or actually see it through. A feeble.
She's like, I know my duty. I know what I have to do. I will do this. And then it was just like the lamest thing I've ever seen.
She's
and
like, I've been watching Dune Prophecy all season, and every single scene has involved this specific knife leading to instant death. Usually it's on the throat, though. Not a rib shot.
Go for the throat. She's like, this is what I've been bored to do. And I'm like, this is the setup. I mean, like, no. I mean, what's true is that we're setting this up for season 2. Yes. But I was like, you established this whole mystery about a shape-shifting person. It was like, what's up with Theo? What's up with Theo? And then we see what she can do. And then this is what you do with that? Is this like dumb get help guard ploy on the ground?
We're not doing get help. We're not doing get help. Great stuff.
And like
terrible. Now the captors know about this, so it can't even be used. Interestingly,
well, Very strange. Might use it somehow, I guess. Yeah. But it just all felt like at the first time I watched it through, when I was like in the depths of despair, having a bad time with it, I thought. Like, I wasn't paying full attention. Then I watched it back through, but like I wasn't paying full attention. And I was like, did she just die? Is that the end of that character? And then I was like, oh no, they put her in restraints. They're putting her on ice for season 2. But I was just like, this is the shittiest payoff for a mystery that wasn't even that fun and exciting to begin with. Okay, moving on. I guess I'll take that. Takes care of my Theodosia bullet point. We'll just erase that. We already did it. Okay, done. Tula. Arrested and devastated. But man. The thing I will say about Tula, who might be my favorite character at the end of the day.
Easily.
The thing I will say about Tula is what I like about her is like, she's like, you go, I'll take care of this. Right. And then they have this like really protracted embrace, not embrace moment. And then he's like, arrest her. And what I like about Tula is I'm like, I'm not convinced that this part also wasn't always part of her plan.
Yeah.
Like Tula always seems like she's going to figure out what to do next. And so she's arrested. She's devastated in like a I don't know. I meant to save my son from a terrible fate, and he has become I don't know, a really disappointing bad character on a bad TV show instead.
He's become a remote control for a nanovirus from the thinking machines. Yeah, Tula's my favorite character in both timelines, I think. Yeah. So
okay, Desmond Hart. As it turns out, a product of Atreides, Harkonnen breeding.
I have so many thoughts and questions.
A potentially Quetzalcoatl with an implanted nano disease that we see Valia sort of work her way through. Some of the things that Tula says to her about the nature of this virus is you cannot fight this with strength. The harder you fight, the faster you burn. All the fear, all the pain, you have to let it pass through you. And then on the other side of this, Valia is like, I don't fear anymore. She doesn't literally say fear is the mind killer, but like, you know.
But that's what this is.
That's what this is.
She might not, no, they don't literally say fear is the mind killer, but they literally made fear the mind killer. That's what happened here. Brain lesions? Because you're afraid. Fear is the mind killer is what this was.
And I hate it.
And that was really tough.
And I hate it. Okay.
Really, really tough.
Hot Constantine abruptly fucked off to the fleet. Just sort of stepped out of the... We felt maybe we were building towards some sort of moment of something for Constantine.
Drunkenly
Simply
fumbled
not.
into discovering Kieran's, frankly, astonishingly recklessly left hollow map of the palace.
Let's call him Slapdash Atreides. What the fuck was
Wild
that about?
stuff.
Just leaving. I mean, I understand that he was like, he had to leave in a hurry. He was like about to secure it in his unlocked little box that he keeps in his locker or whatever, which is just simply not what I would do with all my incriminating evidence. No. But he was interrupted mid contemplation of this incriminating evidence to go off and you know, rescue someone. But like,
he did exactly what we were just talking about on our Skeleton Crew pod. You know, you can't leave your idol or your advantage in your bag and then go off looking for firewood on Survivor. Like, you can't do it, Joe.
Especially after he's, like, admonished Constantine. Like, he has, like, slapped him in the face, essentially, and is just like, you're a piece of shit.
Right.
Here's my locker. It's wide open with all this stuff. Just really... a sad end for the Atreides undercover mission.
Yep.
And a not very impressive win for Constantine at the end of the day.
You know what, though? His father, quite easily impressed, was waiting for his son to do something. And also, Francesca very helpfully was like, what if Constantine had a hobby? What if he had an activity to occupy his hands other than fucking people who he's then going to spill secrets to?
Don't you feel like, doesn't he feel kind of deleted from the story, though? Like, abruptly? Sort of.
No, because we have now a number of characters who have made their way to Arrakis. So, like, the fleet is, about ensuring the control of spice.
Yeah.
And now Valia, Kieran, and Nez have made their way to Arrakis. And so I assume that he will be interacting with those characters in season 2.
In Arrakising. Is the explanation that Valia gives for them going to Arrakis, she's like, if they will fight from the shadows, I will fight from the shadows. So we'll go where the shadows are. Arrakis.
Yeah. It also was like, okay, so this Desmond, you know, let's poke the little implant the nanotech into the eye stem. Imagine having to watch your own eye stem get poked full of stuff. I guess you repress that knowledge.
With your other remaining eye.
With your other eye, yeah. And then, you know, we pan up to this mystery figure, right? And Valia's like, boy, I didn't see the face, guys. We got to save that for season 2. But there was an orangey glow. There was a spicy hue behind that looming specter of doom. The hidden hand, the hand remains hidden, and yet... the color palette is unmistakably
sepia. Dune. My Arrakis. Listen, the eye patch, or the one eye thing reminded me that we did get an email from our listener, Rick, after our Skeleton Crew episode this week, who suggested Mad Eye Mal, give you an eye patch and call you Mad Eye Mal, or I would...
Constant vigilance!
I would yes and say Mal Eye Moody, maybe Mal Eye Moody. Either, one or the other. Just think about it. Okay. The quest continues. Last but not least, the Sisterhood is seemingly under the sway of Lila, who is actually possessed by her grandmother Dorothea. Who among us?
It happens.
Mondays. What are you gonna do? All right. The breeding program AI. RIP for now. Took a crowbar hit. Didn't seem great for that particular tech.
Yeah. And that was just very silly to me that something this powerful could be taken out by a small child hitting it twice. But we did get the cover earlier of like Anirul won't hurt us because it's like cut off from other programs and machines, right? So, because my first assumption when the hardware is broken is, well, okay, but doesn't the software, are we not backed up on the cloud?
Yeah.
But I think that was what they were implying, is that the answer is no, and that was part of how they were hoping to control the power of the thinking machine. Though then Tula was like, you could never control a mind for long.
What? Okay, great Tula impression. What is also obnoxious to me as a dun 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 moment is that we know that the breeding program continues. So, what are we accomplishing here?
Okay, so this was like a big problem I have with the show. Not just that the breeding program continues, but this is where the 10,000 years thing just becomes an issue. Right. Like, if the explanation for why it ends up taking so long to get to Paul is like, well, they lost the tech, then they have to do it in a human fashion, or whatever happens on Arrakis kind of gets back to what we were theorizing about as early as episode 1. This is like a near-term reckoning, a thing that they think they're contending with, and it's going to lead to a repositioning of like, well, let's make our own. Let's breed our own chosen one.
Fine, I'll do it myself, sort of thing.
Exactly. Desmond is the product of the first, we hear from Valia, mixing of the Atreides and Harkonnen bloodlines. Yeah. And one go was all it took to get somebody with immense potential that more than one hidden hand is seeking to use. One go of mixing the bloodline. It doesn't make sense whether or not the thinking machines are involved, whether or not Anirul is back online, that it takes 10,000 years to get to Paul then. It just doesn't. And so this is the risk of a bad prequel, is undermining your core story.
Yeah. Or is Paul Atreides just that much more powerful? And folks, here it is. Time for the no, I'm just kidding. It's not the Paul of Fame episode, but
we're getting close to the 1-year anniversary of Dune Part 2.
Eternal for 2025. Last but not least, I'll just say on the Sisterhood front, I'll just say we leave with at least Sister Jen looking unsure of this new path. You know, dude,
Sister Jen dislocated her own thumbs to get out of restraints.
So sick.
That was dope.
Really cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's sort of like our sort of slapdash little recap of what happened. Let's go now to our 6 winners and losers of Dune Prophecy. We're starting with the losers just so that we can end on a winner. It just seemed like a positive trajectory to take. So
love that.
We're going to bounce back and forth between losers and winners. Loser number 1. People who wanted this chapter of the story to be one and done. HBO has already renewed the show for a second season.
Were you surprised by this? It does not seem like this show is generating any conversation or that people are watching it or enjoying it.
I was surprised by this. I think, but perhaps we should consider that this is the era of Warner Brothers that we're in. I don't know. I need to think about it a little bit more because like we're in the era of sort of proliferation and not cutthroat elimination, I think.
Right.
But I need to think about it a little bit more. It surprised me. The timing does not surprise me. It does not surprise me that they announced it before the finale so that people watching the finale could know,
yes, sure,
there will be more of this show. You don't have to be as annoyed as Mallory and Joanna were when they watched it before this news and were like, what if we don't get another season? This is where we leave it? Anyway, on the one hand, it's a relief given that the episode felt like one long setup to season 2, which, as I said before, deeply aggravated me. On the other hand, this story could go on for 10,000 years. Calamity, disaster. Fun fact. That's a joke my sister made last night. I made my sister help me with this assignment, and she was like, this show could go for 10,000 years. So I was like, Morgan Robinson, come on House of Art. That's a great joke. Morgan loves Dune. My sister loves Dune. I got my Dune love from her. Okay.
Aww.
And we've been talking about this all series long. By the way, also, I just want to say, I believe most of the bad babies are with us because on the email front, initially we were getting some people saying like, you know, and we were trying to like Hope Springs Eternal, like see if the show could go in a direction we liked. But people were saying like, you're being a little hard on it, blah, blah. Most of those people have since sent us another email saying, never mind, you were right. Like everyone was trying to give this show the benefit of the doubt. And I think most people have found nourishing them the way that they wanted it to. But this 10,000 years prequel notion feels both way too expansive and too claustrophobically contained. And this is a point that you made sort of when we were going back and forth on this idea last night. It was like, we're talking about the Harkonnen and the Atreides bloodline crossing.
Yeah.
So it's the same story told 10,000 years ago. So it's just the Skywalkers and Palpatine, rinse and repeat again and again. That Star Wars claustrophobic feeling that we've been having over in that franchise.
Yeah. I just think this is a real bummer because, okay, again, to be clear, like when we get the Star Wars prequels and they are about explaining how Anakin Skywalker, spoiler, became Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I'm in. You know that I unironically love Revenge of the Sith. Genuinely.
I feel like here's what I think is true. In just the scant years that I've been podcasting with you, the thing has gone from like to love. Like I feel like your passion
always
has
loved
been
Revenge
building.
of the Sith. Always.
I don't know.
Always.
I feel like this is revisionist, but okay.
Oh,
All
no.
right.
No. Oh, no. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
We could go back to the binge mode Star Wars power rankings where I want to say, I can't remember exactly how high I had it, but I had it high.
Hi. Oh, God. Okay. Carry on with your unhinged takes.
Prequel kid. I saw that movie in theaters. I think I've told you this more than any other. I saw that movie in theaters more than I've seen any movie in theaters.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe other than Titanic. I saw that a lot in theaters. Anyway, back to the pod. So that's not the issue. The issue is then when everything else in Star Wars is always about the Skywalkers and always about Palpatine and a galaxy that should be huge, like we always talk about, starts to feel small. And a Dune, it makes sense to me that a Dune origin story about the Bene Gesserit called Dune Prophecy would connect to how we eventually get to the shortening of the way. That makes sense, to be clear. It's the fact that we don't seem to have a lot else going on. We have really narrowed the scope around key players who will remain key players and key questions and ideas that will remain key questions and ideas. And so it not only, I think, sapped the effectiveness of season 1 as a proposition, it really dampens my confidence that there will be an improvement moving forward. That's going to just be a diminishing return, potentially. I mean, like, I obviously hope that season 2 is stronger than this and that the series can improve and start to operate at like a different level. But you've got to introduce families and character sets and slices of the canon that we haven't gotten to spend as much time with on screen. I think that's part of why when the Face Dancer thing happened, everyone was like, Dune nerds were excited, right?
Yeah, and then it just absolutely fizzled. That's why I personally was excited by like House Richese, who like show up very briefly at the beginning, but they're just gone. But like that's what I mean. Like when we talk about, let's say, House of the Dragon, like are there ways in which we're like, okay, we're still doing Targ stuff. We did Targ stuff with Game of Thrones. We're doing Targ stuff with House of the Dragon, but like it's not the Starks and the Lannisters, like the Starks and the Lannisters are there on the periphery, but they are not where they are in Thrones yet. And so we are exploring different players at the table, and Dunk and Egg will be sort of like another slice of the kingdom and the canon. And that's what we're talking about in terms of like, give us more to play with. What would the Richeses be like if they had a bigger role in this show? I would be quite excited by that. Instead, we get the same imperial family, the Harkonnens and the Atreides. And like, on the one hand, I understand that like the promise you make to Warner Brothers when you say we want to make a Dune show is we're going to fill it with names that they recognize and that they can get excited about. But I feel like there's a way to do both. To like, if you need to give us 2 Harkonnen sisters at the center of the Bene Gesserit, that's fine. But I think there still should be room for other families, other stories, other names, rather than like when Kieran Atreides shows up in the palace, you're like, okay, there's an Atreides here. Similar to the way that you're like, oh, there's like a Stark we need to kind of track over here, versus how much it becomes just, which was the promise of the opening, like the voiceover at the beginning of the first episode. But the fact that that's just remains what it is, which is Atreides v Harkonnen. It's
I was thinking back to like our coverage of the premiere and what sweet summer children we were on that on that front in particular.
Yeah.
Like literally we were like, yeah, it makes sense to open with familiar beats and names to sort of welcome you. It's a warm bath, sink in. This Kieran guy, like, how big of a factor is he going to be really? Oh, we have an Atreides staff and Atreides, but it's not going to be a stories about the Atreides. And then that just ended up not being true. So it's not just that we have the same figures and a kind of dearth of other houses, aspects of just the Imperium that are playing a consequential role. It's like not just the same people, but they're doing the same things, right? Yeah. The Bene Gesserit is here to mix bloodlines and engineer an outcome and puppeteer. The Imperium is incompetent and we're just waiting to see it toppled.
Yeah.
Like the story beats are similar. We're just accessing them from a different perspective and a different moment in time. And so it just doesn't feel like a widening of the world and a way to bring us even deeper into a mythology that we are so genuinely and sincerely invested in and interested in. It's a shame.
A winner we have is visuals.
Yeah.
We wanted to shout out some of the costuming, production design, visual effects. The show didn't always look perfect. There were times when it looked actually kind of astoundingly cheap. This is the winner category. That's true. But more often than not, I would say it looked stunningly rich and beautiful. There's a tremendous visual effects work. I'm not sure if all the Shai Hulud stuff is sort of like ported over from Dune itself, or if they rendered that visual themselves. It seems like that was just sort of like taken from the film and translated over. Looked wonderful. I want to shout out, particularly in the finale, when we're inside the fear lesion induced strain
what an unpleasant sentence
on Valia's mind, and we're inside her mind palace and we get young Valia, Jessica Barden, who we'll come back to, on the ice. Essentially there's like stuff with Griffin, but there's a lot of just like her prostrate on the ice being battered by the frosty winds.
This looked awesome.
It looked amazing. Yeah. It looked wonderful. And so I was just like, there are technical, sort of what they call in the awards race below the line things happening on this show that are just absolutely stunning. So we wanted to make sure that we recognize it. Anything else in particular you wanted to shout out? I
agree that the Griffin ice, Valia Griffin ice sequence was just stunning. Yeah. I also thought it was super fucking cool to see space folding.
Yes.
Like that was amazing. Adam and I were like, whoa, that was just really cool and fun. I thought too that the palace, I really liked the palace design. You know, this is something like we had a really fun time talking about on both of our Dune film pods, the various like murals and sketches. You know, you shared some of the like posters and the art that you have that's like inspired by some of these visuals.
Yeah.
I like loved the, okay, here, I know again, we're in the winner category. I'm about to compliment something, but I will critique something in the process of doing it. When Havako, if only it had been Constantine. No, I don't want to, wait, what? I don't want to. I was about to say something that would have made it seem like I think Constantine should have fucked his mom, which is not what I mean or what I want.
Well, listen.
God, what's happening? Oh my God. Okay. Avigo and Francesca in bed. I was so much more invested in the headboard design behind them than I was in the wall behind them,
and the linens,
that I was in. And like the silky sheets, beautiful.
Very silky, yeah.
A lot of great bathrobe action as well for both of them in that stretch. So that was beautiful. I wanted to ask you if you had noticed and what you thought about the very vaginal design of the ceiling in Havako's chambers. You know, there's that like nice bronze.
I feel like there's a lot of sort of convex Georgia O'Keeffe-esque shapes inside of the Empress. Like,
I loved it.
I like everything. I think a lot of the Emperor's, the Imperial Palace, except for their like banquet hall breakfast nook on the like out on the lip of the edge of the water feature
in
thing.
the like whale ribs. You don't take that?
That's the one thing that I'm like, that I don't love, but there's a lot of other like subtle weird little water feature stuff in people's rooms. They did like a lot of like fountain work throughout that I thought was really effective, especially like in contrast to desert planet stuff that we're so used to. So it's not quite the like, you know, tell me of your homeworld, Usul, we've got water everywhere situation, but it is like, I thought that was like a really cool, and also the look of the eye water feature at the Bene Gesserit school was also very cool, I thought.
If you were going to hide a ton of corpses that would become skeletons.
Great question.
Would you do it?
Yeah. This
is like a even worse version of Kieran just leaving evidence in his office.
Yeah.
Like, is that where you would have dumped them?
Great question.
It also, you only had to crowbar open one crate and move one thing on a pipe to reveal them.
It was right nearby. So, you know, it's
convenient.
It's 4 young women trying to move a bunch of bodies. So I sort of, and as far as I know, they don't have levitation ability. But if it were me, if it were me, and if I had maybe a little bit of time, I would remember that we're right by the cliffs where there's like a stormy sea going at all times, and I maybe would have tried to toss them that away personally.
This is how I can tell that everybody, 10,000 years ago in the Duneverse has not watched Yellowstone. You got to take him to the train station. If you have a body, you got to take him to the train station.
Why?
You'll find out when you watch Yellowstone.
I simply never will. Okay. Loser number 2 is the space sex. This is the Mallory Rubin category. The space sex / space romance / palace intrigue. Real inert sex stuff going on here, and not even some swoony, Chani and Paul style romance love themes to keep us going. Yeah. So sorry to the horny spice heads, including Mallory Rubin. We heard you wanted more sex, but not like this. I think to go back, not to bang the drum forever on the peach silk loving Richese family, but like that really was sort of like an early promise of the palace intrigue stuff that we said we really wanted from this show. And other than the Whisper Network moment that I said I liked and you said you didn't, we did not get much palace intrigue the way that we wanted to.
So was it all downhill for you after we watched Pruitt shove the pomegranate seed into Nez's mouth? That's where the success ended for you? That was the highlight for you?
That's where we really peaked, I want to say. We got I can't find the email now, I'm so sorry, but we got maybe an email or maybe someone tweeted it. I can't find it. Guys, I have like 9 different email accounts at The Ringer. I don't know where it was sent, but it was related to the way Rob and I on the Prestige TV feed talking about the best TV moments of the year. I picked something, spoiler alert for that pod, I picked something from Fargo, which features Sam Spruill, who is in Dune Prophecy, only you wouldn't know it because he's barely here. And such an interesting performer. Always. He's going to be in Dunk and Egg. We're really excited about that. Like, Sam Spruill is always fascinating to watch. He's so fascinating in Fargo. And this is what you do. Like, this is what you cast him to do. The insurgency plot, which could have been so interesting, is just here and gone in a really just sloppy, shallow way. A real disappointment for me.
Yeah. Like, and this is then on the palace intrigue front. Obviously, a lot of that would center around the Carinos, the Richeses, etc. But obviously, the based on the nature of the story and the nature of the Bene Gesserit, the puppeteering, pulling strings, seeking to control and guide and determine imperial affairs. I think obviously all of that is connected. Like, so something like Michaela. Like the parting of the ways between Valia and Michaela like basically telling the Mother Superior to fuck off in response to the crumbling of the rebellion, this acknowledgement from Valia that nothing anybody else puts any of their time or effort into is anything other than a pawn on her board, right? And she will decide when it is time to move that pawn, including maybe moving it off of it by putting it in the path of your opponent's piece. that's like interesting. But then that character's just gone. And we had barely spent any time with her before then. So you have, again, I think that's emblematic of the promise that isn't fully realized and explored. That we talked about this. I mean, we've talked about this various times. We talked about it in our Dune movie pods. We talked about it in our like run up to looking forward to this show in the early episodes. The palace intrigue was one of the things that I was like most looking forward to about not just the particular framing of this story, but a television show, a Dune television show. Like this is where we're trying to do, and yes, again, we know that George R. R. Martin was influenced by Frank Herbert, to be clear, but from the HBO in 2024 perspective, we're trying to do Thrones on Dune in TV. It was exciting. Like a lot of the palace intrigue stretches of the text are riveting. And because of the nature of this current run of film adaptations, which again we adore and we think are brilliant, those like sort of don't fit into the cinematic universe that Villeneuve has made.
And he's talked about it like overtly. He's like, I understand this. I also cherish this about the book.
Yes.
We just couldn't have space for it, unfortunately.
And like, and so that was exciting to consider that could be present here, but then it's just not done deftly.
Something I hope and anticipate is, I mean, it has to be part of Dune Messiah. Like, it has to be. Like, that is so palace intrigue heavy. So my hope is that we'll see it there. It was a real misfire here. But yeah, I want to see more like almost, I don't know why this is the comp that keeps coming in my head, like House of Cards-esque, you know, shuffling the deck of your allies and your enemies as we sort of try to whip votes or whatever it is that we need to do to move various plots forward.
Absolutely. And I felt like a moment at the end between Tula and Valia gets at that potential, right? Because these are characters who are among the more successful characters in the story. We both said Tula is our favorite. Their relationship gives you the macro and the micro. It's intimate, it's personal. They have direct, deep history. They have driven each other to do terrible things. They have found comfort and safety and refuge in each other, and they are part of this larger machination and plot.
Yeah.
So like a moment when Tula reveals that Desmond is her son, Valia is like, wait, what? Oh, you think I'm a monster? And because Tula says, like, I
wanted to protect
you everything, but I couldn't give them to you. And Tula's response to that was so interesting. It was like, yes, but also I'm one too. I could have stopped you at any point.
I love that
didn't.
part. Actually, I really love that. Yeah, I love that.
Great. And so like that was the kind of thing that worked inside of season 1 and still gives me hope that there is something rich to mine here, but we need more of the moments like that. Havo, watching Duke Richese manipulate him into like getting personal quarters at the palace in the first episode was really compelling. And like you said, that just vanishes. And then he's just a sad loser who is in a series of conversations where everybody is telling him that he's not in control of his own life. Thematically, there's something interesting and sad about that, of course, but he didn't give us anything to make us feel like, boy, I hope he finds a way through this, right? And then on the sex front, like, none of those relationships were interesting. I guess Kieran is a great fuck because Inez destroyed her own family after having sex with him once while high in the basement of a club.
Listen, Mallory.
I mean, who
among us?
hasn't been there? Maybe I do understand that part of it. The Francesca Havo relationship played such a seismic role in the final 2 episodes.
Yeah, there are parts of that worked for me actually. Like they're like
I would have loved for it to be there also for all 6 episodes.
She was great, I thought.
Yeah.
And like their final moments before their dumb death, I thought was really, really good. Like she's been tasked to kill him and he's like has no reason to trust her, but also she has Renee's made him and imprinted on, you know, she's been imprinted on. I thought she was great.
She was fantastic. It was exciting because we as the audience didn't know whether to believe her for a few minutes there.
I thought that was great. And I thought they're like the yearning was palpable. Like put a pin in sad Haviko. We'll come back to that on this list.
Yeah.
Sad. Yeah. Emperor Haviko we'll come back to. But yeah, I really agree.
I think they didn't know what they had there, because and especially because we have the like Natalia, Haviko, what exactly is going on here at the beginning. If the thing that is actually drawing him is clear and present to us from the beginning, we have just more context for understanding that. For me, the Natalia arcs is one of the great failures of the season. Like, there was just so much intrigue and potential at the beginning there that completely fizzled out. What are we supposed to feel when we see Natalia kiss Desmond? Like, what are we supposed to think and make of her arresting her own daughter?
I felt nothing. I felt empty and dead inside is how I felt. Like I have never cared about anything in my life and never will care about anything in my life again. Here's a question I have for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you actually, the most romantic and sexiest thing that happens on the show is in episode 3, the episode that we didn't get to cover.
Yes.
Can I use that as a transition into our next winners?
Please.
Our next winners are the young cast, and we're specifically singling out the women. The young female cast on the whole was quite promising. We were big fans of young Tula, Emma Canning, and young Valia, Jessica Barden, as well as Sister Lila, Chloe Leah, who is my favorite.
Yeah,
and then Sister Jen, who has a very Irish name. How do you think you pronounce this?
I do not know.
I'm not going to try it. Her last name is Cunningham. Her first name is a beautiful Irish name. I'm sure it is gorgeous, and I'm sure it is not at all pronounced how it looks on the page. I've been fooled by you too many times, Irish names, to be drawn into this trap. Anyway, I thought Jen was great. I loved young Tula and Valia. We've talked about them. I will give you a chance to talk about them in a second. I want to talk about Lila for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So Chloe Leah is right now, at this very moment, 19, which means she was like maybe 17 or 18 when they were making this. She has to play 3 different characters. She plays Lila, she plays Raquella, and she plays Dorothea.
Yeah.
I would argue that Raquella and Dorothea have like, I wouldn't say this is like the most chameleonic performance I've ever seen in my life. Oh my God, she's 3 completely distinct people. Because I think both Raquella and Dorothea have this sort of like zeal and fervor to them. But I think that's right for who they are. I do think her physicality for Raquella, this sort of like slightly shuffling older physicality inside of this like very young woman's body, I thought was really effective. And I just think, I mean, she's got these gorgeous eyes and just sort of like is quite we feel quite empathetic towards her in her sort of most young and innocent guise, and then like genuinely terrified of her as Dorothea. I didn't like how all of this worked with the sisters, though then again they're all infected with the nanovirus, so who's to say how easy it is to shepherd a flock who is riddled with nightmares. But all that felt a bit like hasty to me. I would have loved to have seen, not to Monday Morning Quarterback this show, but like I would have loved to, again, it's sort of like feels like a missed opportunity as with like the Faceless Man. Like, what if she were actually Dorothea, but pretending to be Lila for longer? You know what I mean? Like a longer con than what we got here. I think that would have been like a really fun twist. Instead, it was just like immediately apparent to Jen and us, like what was going on, etc. So anyway, these actresses were wonderful, and I'm really excited to see what they do next after literally what they're doing next, which is Dune Prophecy Season 2. But whatever else they want to do. Jessica Barden in particular, I've talked about as someone that I've enjoyed before. But Emma Canning, I think, is maybe our MVP. And I think her episode 3, and that romance leading into that sex scene, I think had the most like juice to it of anything we saw this season.
I just started Say Nothing, and she's in that too. So that was really exciting to see her there. Yeah.
She's wonderful in that. And like, I'm so excited you're watching Say Nothing. Oh my God. My God. Okay.
Yeah. I'm only 2 episodes in. I started it last weekend, but I'm going to catch up over the holiday.
Okay.
I really agree. I thought that the young cast was excellent and very compelling. I agree with everything that you said about Lila. You know, the opening episodes where we were so intrigued by the character and felt very immediately like very tenderly toward her is the kind of thing that we're like longing for with a lot of the other characters, right? That kind of like simultaneously almost innate and reflexive investment that also feels earned because you have the mystery around her parentage and okay, what are we going to learn and when? And then the Tula relationship and this question of how active or necessary was that manipulation from a person who really does love her? What does it mean that Valia is asking her sister to do this to a person she knows she cares about, et cetera? That just was all really effective.
Yeah.
And then to watch the dawn of the abomination here was just fun and interesting and cool. And I agree the performance was really captivating. Young Tula and young Valia were easily the highlights of the series. To me, it's not really close. And I think like the thing that I kept thinking about, it'll shock you to hear, was Game of Thrones, because we spent, more hours than I was going to say that we can count, but that's not true. We could go back and count them. Quite a few hours. When we potted about season 1, which I would like to be clear, lest there be any misinterpretation or confusion, season 1 of House of the Dragon is way better than this season of TV. I want to be clear about that. Way better. But there was so much conversation around House of the Dragon, the first 5 episodes being the young cast and then moving into the new cast, and whether that was the right decision to structure it that way. Now, I think we both really loved those episodes and those performers, and also really loved the new cast and the new performers and didn't struggle with that quite as much as some people. But I think undeniably it was a barrier to entry and investment for some viewers, no question. So it was on my mind just because you could have actually done something similar here. You could have had the first one, I'm thinking maybe total runtime 1 episode, maybe 2, but probably like 1 or 2 episodes. That's it. Be the younger cast, and then you move into the older cast. And I'm glad that wasn't what happened here. And I just wanted to kind of give the show a nod for stitching the flashbacks throughout the series, though I will acknowledge I can't really tell if that's a product of smart structure or the fact that the other stuff wasn't as good. And so I was glad to have an excuse to keep returning to those other moments that I was enjoying more.
I think it was partially that, but also I think the reason they did it that way was part of the whole like, dun, 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 it's her son sort of reveal. Like they can't show us all of that at the beginning because they are holding it back for a reveal. And I did like, we agree. It's a winner. Next loser.
I can't wait for this. Go for it.
Don't overhype it. Dune fans who wanted this to be great is sort of one thing, but also a sub bullet point here is, and maybe also Mark Strong, who has gone out like a chump in 2 of HBO's big franchise Sunday shows this fall/winter.
This just made me laugh so much when I saw that in the outline.
I don't know if it's fair to say his character in The Penguin goes out like a chump because he went out in a movie that was different and blah, blah, blah. But I still think he's like kind of a chump in as portrayed in both these movies. And Mark Strong, I've enjoyed you in many things. And
Same.
So it's not really your fault. But Haviko was just not it at all. It's much more interesting to see a like strong, smart leader fall than it is to watch a guy who's being like puppeted and duped and controlled from all sides and then has this fall at the end of the season. Like it's much more interesting for us to see like Ned Stark, spoiler for season 1 of Game of Thrones. I'm not saying he has to be virtuous in the way that, or honorable in the way that Ned Stark was, but like capable. You know, Ned was naive in his own way, and that was his downfall. But there were many ways in which he was much more capable than Haviko winds up being. The way that Haviko is like pushed one way by Desmond and then another way by the Bene Gesserit and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, on the one hand, we do want to watch the Bene Gesserit puppeteer people. That is part of this whole prospect. But I just think Haviko was kind of a failure of a character in general, and you know, Mark Strong.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think like conceptually, there's something interesting to me about he's chosen, right? The as Valia outlines, like we put your forebearers on the throne to get to you so we can control you, et cetera, right? You're a point on our map. It's interesting, like, to have the character have to hear that and confront that in theory. I think the problem is, in addition to everything you outlined, he doesn't really confront it. He hears it, and then it's compounded by the devastation he feels in realizing that the like defining love of his life was also engineered. And then he just stabs himself in the stomach. Like,
I think if you compare him to someone like, and it's, I mean, how could you ever? But like to Leto Atreides, and it's like, like Duke Leto is also manipulated, like by the Bene Gesserit, has also found, let's hope, true love with Lady Jessica, but also she was put there for a purpose to breed with him. And, so there's ways in which to give it, and we love Leto Atreides.
Love.
Based off so little, but like the opening conversation that he has with Paul in the first Dune film, like that is so important to establishing Leto. So like, could there have been comparable conversations between Constantine and Haviko, or Inez and Haviko? And there just simply wasn't. And the one thing I want to give the show, in terms of like a second season, is we know that the production behind this first season was like quite embattled. Yes. Long road to the finished product. A showrunner turnover in the course of making this. And so perhaps the argument to be made for a second season is, well, we haven't given the current showrunner the opportunity to, from the start, really shape the season. This is this is like perhaps the best they could do with a really troubled production. And maybe they will have a smoother road to finished product next time. So like that's the benefit of the doubt that I can give this decision. But I have not seen much of anything in this season that gives me hope of like, oh, if only these hands could steer this ship, we will certainly have a better time of it in season 2,
Yeah. I think it's the distinction between building blocks and like cornerstones. Like, does it feel like there's enough of a real genuine foundation here to build something sturdy and lasting? On that Haviko point, and the Leto comp, like it's a really great point, and I just like can't think of a single moment where anyone in the story, I guess, other than Francesca at the end, who is like, I love you, I actually am going to choose you over not just the sisterhood and my friend, but someone I've been so devoted to that I, along with my fellow youngins, went into a full-on murder spree with.
Like, dumped a lot of bodies.
Nobody likes this guy. Nobody believes in him. It's not just that he's actually genuinely not capable. It's that nobody thinks he's worth fighting for, other than the one character we met last week. That's not enough, right? That's just not enough of a counterweight. So it not only makes him less of an effective character, and it saps the potential tragedy. The real damning thing to me is that it makes what the Bene Gesserit are doing less impressive.
Way less impressive. That's what I mean. Like the fall of something like that is like, look what you've accomplished. If Valia,
everybody's controlling him. Desmond is controlling him.
Exactly.
Right?
I said that. But like if Valia decides, actually, this is not who we want anymore.
Yeah.
And let's knock him off the board. I need that to be a much more impressive thing, to your point, than it winds up being. This is just like a not even a stiff breeze. A gentle breeze is going to knock this guy over. And it's just uninteresting to watch. Okay, last but not least, on our list today is the winner, the last winner. Here it is, the crown of this podcast about a television show. We're going to talk about Denis Villeneuve. They said for decades that Dune was unadaptable. Many men have tried. Many women, I'm sure, have tried as well. And yet Denis smashed it out of the park. We love these films. We think they're amazing. So like maybe they're all wrong. Dune is definitely adaptable. Denis did it. And then here comes HBO to prove that perhaps Denis and only Denis is the person who can do this and no one else can do this. Again, hope springs eternal for season 2. Perhaps this is going to be our just favorite show of 2026 or whenever this comes back around. Who's to say? Anything is possible. And that happens all the time, that there's like tough season 1s of things and then they have a better time going forward. But it just makes what Denis accomplished to what we were just saying, knowing how hard it is, now we know how incredible it is that Denis pulled it off.
Yeah.
Thinking about Dune Part 2 in the award season races I've been filling in over on Big Pick, it's fascinating how much this movie is going to get, Dune 2 is going to get kind of like overlooked. It's weird to triangulate it across several pods, because over on Trial by Content, I won the movie bet of the year because I put all my chips on Dune Part 2.
Yep.
And per the algorithm we cooked up on that podcast, Dune Part 2 is the movie of the year. Like, that's what we've decided. And then over on the Big Pick, it's like Dune Part 2 barely exists. I mean, it's going to be nominated for Best Picture. It's going to be nominated for a bunch of like technical awards, but it's not going to be honored for the crowning achievement of the year that it is. And part of that is like, it's part 2 of 3, and part of that is like when it came out in the year and all this sort of stuff like that. But I just like, I wonder, on the one hand, I wonder if this show were a gangbuster, if everyone had loved the show, if it had become a phenomenon, would that have improved Dune Part 2's chances at the Oscars? I think it might have. But honestly, I actually think it failing makes Dune Part 2 look all that more impressive.
Yeah.
And if it were me, I would be more eager to award that film based on what I consider a failure over here on the TV side.
I agree. It's like, those films were both wonderful. We loved them. We loved them at the time. I think when we revisit them ahead of the not yet dated, but definitely happening at some point, Hall of Fame, we'll find them even more impressive than we already did. And that's actually kind of cool.
We're lucky to have them. We
really are. Like, just genuinely great movies made with a confidence and a very assured sense of purpose and intent by a person who understands and loves the world. And the scale and spectacle, the focus on themes, the kind of confidence to bring forward a lot of the themes that he knew he wanted to focus on and tease out and build around, the quality of the performances, like, those movies are beautiful. I have not seen a lot of the Oscar contenders yet. I usually like catch up on them this next week over the holidays. Yeah. So, to be fair and clear, like, I don't have the context of the full slate of contenders that you and Sean do. But where I am right now, like, Dune is definitely one of my 3 favorite movies of the year, without question. So, and I don't see that changing.
What are your other 2 right now? Wild Robot,
Dune, A Complete Unknown. So Timmy is really my performer of the year. That's like, no doubt.
That's what Sean and I said on the Big Pick yesterday. He's the movie star of the year. Yeah.
And probably Flow, which I just thought was unbelievable. Like, absolutely unbelievable.
I'm so glad you saw that.
Yeah.
A Complete Unknown. I'm so excited that I got to watch that with you.
I can't stop thinking about it. I have not stopped thinking about it since
wonderful.
I saw
it. That's so good. Yeah, but like, as Sean and I were just talking about on the Big Pick, like, Denis probably not going to get nominated for Best Picture for director.
I don't
There's
understand.
There's 5 other directors nominated this year and not Denis, and that's just like,
I don't understand it.
Baffling to me. And again,
how?
I mean, I think this is what we've been saying all year, is that they're gonna like do the sort of Return of the King thing, but I'm just worried because Dune Messiah is so weird that that's just not gonna be the moment. Maybe now's the moment to.
You remember when Paul
him.
rode Shai Hulud? You remember Gady Prime? Like, those happened in this movie.
You remember Gady Prime?
Okay. You remember Fade licking that blade?
And on the note of Fade Ralph being a true sicko boy that we all know and love, we're on our way out of here. We did it. Yeah. We talked about Dune. We stuck it out. I guess here's the question for me to you at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You and I are not always, but more so, I think, than some other people, like completionists.
Mm-hmm.
Is there ever a version of this in the future where we're like, we're just not going to finish Dune Prophecy? I mean, we have done it. We've done it with shows before.
Sure. I'll probably I think I would watch it no matter what, just because, well, I think 2 things. One, my investment in the universe. I think it would be difficult for me to know a Dune story was airing and not watch it.
Yeah.
Also, certainly at the top of next season, wanting to see if it had improved. But then also part of what was on my mind with just the decision to renew, not that I think it seems likely that Villeneuve is going to be influenced in any way by what happens on this show, but just from the WB perspective of these things happening on like a parallel track and in a similar time frame, I would worry that something was happening in the show that had some connection to the movie that like I would be missing otherwise. Even if that seems very unlikely, I would worry about that. So.
This is what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wanted to be until Kevin Feige's like, guess what?
Yeah.
S.H.I.E.L.D. tied right now. Okay, we did it.
We did it.
Thanks to Mallory Rubin. Thanks to beautiful Shai Hulud for being with us always. Thanks to Steve and Ahlman and John Richter, who came in bright and early to help us with this pod today, right at the end of the week here. And thank you to Jomi Adeniran on the social. And we will see you all for our best moments of 2024. Just the things that absolutely slayed for us. We're so excited to talk about it. It's my favorite pod we do every year. Can't wait to laugh and cry with you over that. And we will see you all soon. Bye.